A week ago at Media Days, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey is always putting the knife into his competitors. And in this case, he had something to say about Florida State and the ACC. Very specifically, he was talking about the Noles. He said this just before Georgia went. I was there. It was, I mean, so much goes on there these days, but I did kind of chuckle when I heard it. I was like, I don't know if this is necessary, but here's what he had to say about Georgia, Greg Sankey, and Florida State. He said, Georgia was one of the best four teams and didn't get in, talking about the college football playoff. But you didn't see us jumping up and down and complaining and hanging national championship banners. So that was a shot at Florida State. Now, Mike Norvell went during the ACC's media days, which are ongoing right now. And this is what he had to say from Florida State coach Mike Norvell. He said, I don't disagree that Georgia was one of the top four teams if you're judging off talent and ability, but they also earned their loss. That was part of a result of what happened on the field. When you look at our team and what it was, we controlled the things we could control. We unfortunately had an injury, but we had a team that responded to it. Everybody can have an opinion of what happened, and I don't disagree that Georgia was one of the best four teams. But what happened on the field kept them out of the playoff. Yes, it did, Mike. That's true. And what happened on the field in the ACC kept Florida State out of the playoff as well. Now, this is going to be the last year that we have these discussions about, because you're at 12, really 11. We talk about a 12-team playoff, which is accurate, but Team 12 is going to be not very good in the grand scheme of things. The bulk of the time, we'll see each time, but the bulk of the time, team number 12 is not going to be very good. With what Mike Norvell had to say, Mike Norvell's Florida State team, I guess Florida State should win the ACC this year. They will benefit more than anybody. The ACC is the weakest league. I don't. Top to bottom, the ACC is the weakest league. I think the Big 12 is a better league, top to bottom. Is the top of the ACC better than the Big 12? I think it probably is, actually. But I think that through the run of the season, Florida State's most difficult game was probably LSU in terms of who they faced in the regular season. They escaped against Clemson. They escaped against Boston College. But in the future, when you win the ACC, certainly not one of the best two leagues in the country. Perhaps, in 2021, the ACC didn't send anybody to the college football playoff, and they shouldn't have. And the ACC did not send anybody in 2023, and the ACC didn't send anybody in 2022. It's been a while for the ACC champion. Clemson, Pittsburgh won it in 21, did not go to the college football playoff. Clemson lost to South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, in 22. Did not go to the college football playoff. Florida State in 23. So there's some annoyance in the ACC, but the good news is for them now that they can waltz their way right in to a college football playoff top four position that they will, I would say right now in the summer, almost certainly not deserve. So all this discussion about who the most talented team is and all that sort of stuff, we have been comparing, racehorses to ponies, or my car to Carson Beck's Lamborghini in a speed. These things are not the same. Ponies and racehorses, they all have four hooves, but my car has four tires. It's not like Carson's Lamborghini. So these are not all the same thing. What Florida State went through and didn't lose is not the same as what Georgia dealt with in the SEC. Georgia played teams that finished in the top 10 and defeated them. Florida State, first of all, Ole Miss, Missouri, and then they played Alabama. They played four teams in the top 10. Four. Florida State, I think, played one, and that was Georgia, and they lost by 60 points. And, they're not the same. No. Well, guys get injured. Brock Bowers got injured. Ladd McConkey got injured. Williams at Alabama got injured in 21. We never hear the end of that. And yet, everybody's supposed to feel bad for Florida State that their quarterback was injured. Georgia's quarterback was injured in 2021. Their starting quarterback, who never lost a game at Georgia, was injured. He could not play. They won the national championship. So what's Florida State's excuse? And or explanation, however you want to put it. So I think Mike Norvell has done a good job. And I think that whenever a head coach, whether it be Norvell, Ryan Day, Kirby, whoever, when you don't win the national championship from the season before, or you've not won it in a while, or you're not, you feel like you've got some beef, you almost never look good at the end of the day. And this part about we control the things we could control. Yeah, you looked horrible against Florida. I mean, that was a bad look. You looked horrible against Louisville. Those were not good wins. You looked bad against Clemson. You looked bad against Boston College. There were a lot of times that Florida State just didn't look good. I mean, they beat LSU. Well, they're not the only ones that beat LSU. You know what I mean? I mean, so that's not like saying, well, we beat LSU. That's good. That's better than losing LSU. But that alone, and that's not their only argument. But this has been in the past a beauty pageant. If you go undefeated in the SEC, you're getting in. If you go undefeated in the Big Ten, you're getting in. If you don't go undefeated in the other folks, you might not get in. And where I am sympathetic to Norvell's comment, and this will be a problem moving forward, is I would just like to know what the rules are. And now we have sort of some established rules. We know if you win your league, we know if you're one of the four that win your league, and these four are not created equally, you'll go to the college football playoff. What we don't know is, what is incorrect right now is that the top four is not going to be the top four. It's going to be the best two teams from the SEC and the ACC, from the SEC and the Big Ten, or at least their champions, and the champions of the Big 12 and the ACC, which might, in 21, Pittsburgh, I don't know, maybe they were a top 10 team. I don't remember it being that way. In 22 with Clemson, I mean, Tennessee just sort of routine them right off the field. 23, Georgia beat the ACC champion by 60. In 2020, Ohio State blew out Clemson. I mean, it's not been a good run for the ACC champion lately. The last 4 years, I don't remember who won the Pittsburgh Michigan State game, to be honest with you. I think Pitt might have won that, and my internet's down, but I will look it up as we go. But it's not there's not been a good look lately for the ACC champion. They just haven't played great. I mean, in their bowl game, yeah, they lost to Michigan State. So, and bowl games, I have to say, are not the end all be all with stuff. So that is one parameter of looking at things. But I just, the Florida State drumbeat, as it were, is, I'm sorry, I said Clemson won it in, this is 21. Yeah, they did win it in 22. The drumbeat, as it were, Clemson went 9-0 in the ACC in 2022. 9-0, an undefeated regular season, an undefeated championship. They won their ACC championship by 29 points. They lost to Tennessee by 17. They lost to South Carolina at home. They lost to Notre Dame by 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's not a good look. So the problem with the ACC, and Clemson and Florida State know it, is the ACC. That's the challenge right now. Is that if I were Clemson and Florida State, I wouldn't really want to leave. You have a direct path. Now, will that happen forever? I don't know. Last year, Florida State, a solid win over LSU. LSU, that was a bad look. But then when you beat Boston College by 2, that was woo. You beat Boston College by 2. You need overtime. You should have lost to Clemson. And then, the rest of the season, you're struggling against Miami. You look horrible against Florida in a 9-point win, in a 10-point win over Louisville. And then you just get absolutely assaulted by Georgia in the Orange Bowl. I don't think that Greg Sankey has to do this. Part of me thinks I can speak to this a little bit. A little bit. There was a lot of annoyance in coming out of COVID about the ACC from the SEC, and the ACC not wanting to play, not holding hands and going. There was more of that aggravation pointed at the Big Ten at the time, but there was some annoyance about all of that, and I think that the SEC views itself as the best conference in football and sports. And they've got, they've got a right to say that. They are the best conference in football. In terms of all the sports that aren't basketball, and they're really good at basketball now. They're better than ACC. That's crazy. So, Greg Sankey's position is, we're the best. We don't want to hear your complaining, and that's where we're at. I don't think he's got to do this. I think he does it enough. It's sort of strategic. But I think, it cracks me up. But at the same time, does he have to do it? I don't think so. But I think this is my opinion, that, the SEC looks down on the ACC in a very real way now. They always have. But, it's really palpable now, if I'm saying that correctly. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.